1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Get to your feet, Delsin rodent. How do you propose to defeat that bumbling, bald, bespectacled excuse for a YouTuber if you give up now? You must feed your anger, my child. Think of all the times you've been humiliated, ridiculed, discarded, thrust on screen because PlayStation Access were too lazy to think of a joke that was remotely clever or funny. Yes, Delsin rodent, let the hate flow through your veins. Now, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Friendly rivalries. The thought of beating your arch nemesis into the dust can be a huge motivator, enabling you to harness previously untapped potential, pushing you forward, making you better. So much so, you wonder that if you didn't have your main rival to compete against, would you be as strong? So it is with video game rivalries, with some feuds lasting entire series, protagonists and antagonists pushing each other to the brink, every ounce of effort spent, every muscle fibre torn. But without each other, would these characters be who they are? Here are 7 video game rivals who hate the fact they can't live without each other. Our first entry is a legendary video game rivalry that goes back 3 decades. It's Street Fighter, it's Ryu versus Ken. Now, despite the fact these two video game icons have been punching the polygons out of one another since the days when there were barely any polygons to punch, this rivalry is probably the most amicable we're going to see on this list. Ken and Ryu are childhood friends, having trained and grown up together, constantly pushing each other to better themselves as fighters and as people. Ken and Ryu are like complete opposites. Ryu is reserved and stoic, whereas Ken is brash and almost arrogant. They're like the Messi and Ronaldo of the fighting game world. Ryu is Messi, just quietly and respectfully going about his business of being the actual best, while Ken is a Ronaldo showman, all flashy smiles and flexing muscles. Despite their differences, however, there's a huge amount of mutual respect between the pair, and when they put aside their friendship and go toe-to-toe to the death, to the KO, it's always an absolutely epic fight. But Ryu is the best, don't at me. Entry number 2 is a rivalry that's anything but friendly. Cloud and Sephiroth properly hate each other, a situation probably not helped by the fact Sephiroth killed Cloud's maybe girlfriend Aeris and then spent an entire game making him fight increasingly weird versions of his alien mother. Like most of the entries on this list, however, Cloud and Sephiroth do actually have quite a lot in common. They're both warped by genetic experiments by the deranged Professor Hojo, they're both deeply mentally scarred by a difficult past, and they both have swords the size of a small whale. Which is why it's so exciting when they fight each other. Cloud's climactic Omni/Dazzle to win Final Fantasy VII is a moment seared into my brain forever. This is a rivalry so fierce and so iconic that an entire CG movie was made just so we could see them go at it again. And don't pretend there's any other point to Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children. No one sat through that for any reason other than to watch this epic city-hopping duel right at the end. In fact, since Final Fantasy VII's release, I'm pretty sure it's now someone's actual job to keep thinking of ways Cloud and Sephiroth can fight again. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the real reason Kingdom Hearts and Dissidia are a thing. Just get these two on screen, duking it out. Lovely. Our next rivalry is without doubt the biggest on this list, geographically. It's the Stormcloaks and the Imperials from Skyrim, two factions whose bickering splits an entire country and plunges it into a chaotic civil war. I've never quite been able to work out which is the good side and which is the bad side with the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. And I think that's the point. I mean, traditionally, Imperials are framed as the bad guys, aren't they? But in Skyrim, they've got a point, being part of the economically prosperous empire and opening up Skyrim to everyone seems like a pretty good thing. Bending over backwards and letting the evil Thalmor essentially control everything, less so. Then on the other side of the coin you've got the Stormcloaks who want freedom and liberty for their people, great! But would quite like it if everyone who isn't a Nord just packs up and leaves, thank you very much. Not so great. Do I side with the Imperials or the Nord supremacists? It's such a hard choice. There are fine people on both sides. Maybe I should just go Imperial for the sole reason I prefer living in the picturesque city of Solitude than the frigid hellhole that is Windhelm. Either way, all I do in Skyrim is go around killing people anyway. Imperial, Stormcloak, potato, potato. It's brotherly love for entry number 4 with Dante and Virgil from Devil May Cry. The first meeting between the pair comes in the form of one of my all-time favourite boss fights, the brilliant mano a mano sword fight between Dante and the Dark Knight Nello Angelo in the original Devil May Cry. Dante doesn't know he's fighting his brother at this point, and neither do you, but you can already sense the respect between them. Dante comments about how it's refreshing to have such a good fight. Nello Angelo looks evil and replies mostly with his sword. It's a fantastic battle, pitting you against an opponent with the same speed, strength and power as Dante, the rivalry instantly anchored firmly in your mind. Then in the rebooted DMC you go through pretty much the entire game on Virgil's side. Your twin brother helping you out, defeating Mundus with you, lovely chummy. Oh, but he wants to save the world so he can then rule it afterwards. That's not very nice, Virgil. Have a sword in your smug face, even though it's the same as my face. At number 5, we've got best friends Sora and Riku from Kingdom Hearts, who are the kind of best friends who, when they get home, secretly Facebook stalk each other and are incredibly resentful and jealous of the other's achievements. Sora became Keyblade Master. Riku likes this. Except the real Riku breaks out from behind the forced smile and decides to become a baddie, at least for the first game, leading the evil Disney characters and getting a cool new costume, just in case you were in any doubt that this is a guy you need to fight now. I mean, Riku's got a point. He's older, stronger, and cooler than Sora. He should be the Keyblade Master. Cue a bunch of emotionally charged fights between the pair as they tussle over who gets to be top dog. Eventually, it's revealed Riku has been possessed by Ansem and so was never really being bad, but I'm not convinced. I'd totally do the same thing as you, Riku, possessed or not. And so then Riku makes peace with the fact he's not actually the main character, and he and Sora become best buds once again. Although there's always the feeling tensions could spill over at any point. You know, this is a very Goku-Vegeta-esque relationship. Riku is Vegeta, obviously, the cool one, the better one. It's entry number 6 now, and I nearly made it the entire video without mentioning Metal Gear, but did you honestly think I wouldn't be including Solid and Liquid Snake? Two men who fought each other for so long they've grown old and tired while doing it. Look, Liquid even has a completely different face. Also, if Liquid wants to call this a rivalry, he could do with winning at least one of these fights. But no, Liquid has lost to Solid while in a helicopter, while in a walking nuclear death mech, while in a car, and even while in the body of an old, admittedly still very ripped man. Boff! And let that be the final time I have to kill you, Liquid, after blowing you up, throwing you off a tool place and destroying your insides with a genetically engineered super virus. Yeah, if you think your family is dysfunctional, then you've got nothing on the Snakes. Liquid and Solid are of course twin brothers, both clones of legendary super soldier Big Boss, who then spend pretty much their entire adult lives trying to kill each other. Brotherly love, eh? Let's have one more of these, just for luck. Our final entry is undoubtedly the biggest rivalry in video games if we're talking about the amount of time it's been going on. It's the Assassins versus the Templars in the Assassin's Creed series, two clandestine sects who've been at each other's throats, often literally, for millennia. They hated each other during the Crusades in the 12th century. They hated each other during the Italian Renaissance, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Victorian era, and probably as far back as Ptolemaic Egypt too. They're like a couple of rogue Time Lords hopping through the ages and fighting each other in loads of different costumes. The Templars and the Assassins are two groups of people with opposite views on how everyone else should live, and they like to repeatedly kill each other over it. The Templars are in favour of control, of guiding the populace and governing them, whereas the Assassins believe in individual liberties above all else. And while the Templars are almost always framed as the villains, I often find myself thinking, you've got a point, as I sink my hidden blade into their neck anyway. I think you should stop arguing, Templars and Assassins. Put aside your differences and build a better world together. But then that would be boring, and Assassin's Creed would only be about collecting flags and feathers, so don't actually do that. So there we go, 7 video game rivals who hate each other, but also can't live without each other. Let us know if we've missed any in the comments, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and catch us again next week for another Friday feature.